Let's get chilly. Hello and welcome back to Let's Chill, the official, unofficial UFA Champion podcast. And we'll skip a little bit of our introductions because we want to get right to our special guest, Brandon Mattis of the UFA Champion Minnesota Wind Chill. Brandon, welcome to the pod.
That's right. What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
I mean, okay, just real quick, like, how are you feeling? Are you still on cloud nine? It's been a couple weeks now since championship weekend. Like, what are the vibes like now?
Yeah, I mean, I told the guys like I wasn't surprised that we could do it, but I was still shocked that we did. Like,
Yeah.
I knew we had it in us, right? But it was still like very surprising, probably just because we've never been there before. So yeah, every time I think back to it, it just still feels kind of surreal. I'm sure I'll come down from it at some point, probably when the new season starts to begin, and it's like, all right, now we're back to work. But yeah, for now, it feels very good, very very good.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Just like you don't even want to come down from that until, like you said, like you have to. But
Right.
um, so as we know from like your own social media and stuff, like you have been pretty busy since championship weekend. Like, what has your life been like? Life at the fair, going back to work, going to sub-zero practice, working out. Like, are you still pretty much like, are you going back to like your normal routine now? Have people been coming up to you and saying congratulations? Like, what's life like now?
It started to be a little bit more of a normal routine. I think being at work the couple days following was like, what am I doing here? Like, why am I not still hanging out with the guys and like
Yeah.
enjoying the experience? So that was a little bit of a whirlwind. I mean, you guys know, and I'm sure a lot of people know that I still play club.
Mhm.
So Sub-Zero is like approaching regionals. So in terms of frisbee, like we're kind of right back. Like we never really stopped playing frisbee. So still like lifting, training for that. You alluded to the fair. We got to go one day. Barrero had Feldman on the radio, and then he was like, "Wait, you guys got to bring the trophy." Like, so then Clayne texted me, and he's like, "I'm going, and I'm bringing the trophy, and you should come with." And so that was probably the most fun moment since like championship weekend ended. Was like having that at the K fan booth and then
Yeah.
carrying it around the fair and having people be like, "Wait, what is this?" And I'll be like, "We won the Super Bowl frisbee," and they'll be like, "Oh my god," which is pretty
Did,
fun. And then
did a lot of people,
We
oh,
went to
sorry,
the
go
T
ahead.
Pain Ludacris concert, and I was like, "Are they gonna let me bring this trophy in?" And Keely's just like, "Just act like you own the place." And I was like, "Cool." So I just walked right through with the trophy. They scanned my ticket. I'm just like dancing in the stand with it. It was, yeah, pretty corny, but like really fun too.
That is amazing. So did a lot of people come up to you at the fair and like ask about it?
I think people were like really curious why I was carrying a heavy trophy around. So I did get some
Yeah.
inquiries about it. My favorite one was actually at the concert. The people in the row in front of us turned around and were like, "Gotta ask, what's the trophy for?" And I was like, "We won the professional men's frisbee title." And they were like, "Oh, y'all are the ones that play at TCO Stadium sometimes." And I was like, "It's working. Like
No.
what we're doing is working." That's so sick. I was so happy that they knew who we were. So that was super fun.
That's awesome. I went to the fair on Sunday, the day after the championship, and I saw like two or three people with wind chill gear on, which was crazy. And I was wearing my hat, and I was only able to catch one because we were in lines for other stuff with the other two. But I was like, "Hey, wind chill! Like, did you see what they won?" He's like, "Yeah." And like we kind of like geeked out together. That was really cool to see just at the fair. This connection. It's spreading. It's spreading.
Yeah, I mean, there's enough of a frisbee population playing wise and fan base. I feel like, and there's just so many people at the fair. Like it's a numbers
Yeah.
game. You're bound to run into somebody who plays or knows about frisbee, which is really cool.
Yeah. I'm even hearing that fan on K fan coming
Yeah,
through, and they're like, "Whoa, nobody knows about frisbee," and that was frustrating because I was at the fair when that was going down. I was like, if I were in the right spot at that time, I could have been on. But I'm glad that somebody else was able to speak on the behalf of the sport and the team. That was
Next year,
funny.
Ben's just gonna pay you to post up at the K-Fan booth all 12 days so
I
that
mean, I might
you're
have
around
to.
for
Just for a little
I'll
frisbee
Q&A.
talk. Yeah,
Ask me anything about frisbee, and it's just
yeah.
Jeff.
yeah.
It was pretty funny though. We gave him some rally towels too, and so
Nice.
like when fans would come up and ask questions to Brero for like the Q&A segment, he'd be like,
Yeah.
"Thanks for the question. Here's a towel. You know they won the championship, right?" And it was just like so funny.
I love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
it was great. And they're all like obviously had no idea what the heck he was giving them, but it was perfect.
Right. Spread it somehow.
Yep.
I have to ask, you had the trophy at the state fair. Where is it now?
Um, Feldman is on vacation with his wife, much deserved vacation overseas. So we have been rotating it through the captains and coaches until he gets back because we need to bring it to the Surly party on the 12th.
Yep.
Plug, go to Surly on the 12th, come see
Heck yeah.
the trophy and take photos and get autographs and stuff. So yeah, I think it's with Max Longchamp. I don't know. It's in good hands. As long as it's in the leadership group, it's in good hands. So, but I've passed it off.
I said maybe this is a question we shouldn't ask, but like who isn't in good hands with if it's in someone's
Um,
hands, who would you not trust?
I feel like I would trust everybody with the trophy. It's too
Yeah.
special.
Yeah.
But if something crazy was going to happen, it would be to Mathieu.
Checks out. That's funny. Okay, that actually kind of goes to my next question. Saturday night, be honest, and again, you can choose how honest you're going to be. How crazy did it get after you won?
If you know anything about Utah, it's not really a state where you go get crazy. We did have like an after party with the whole league, which is really fun. I was saying that one of the downsides I think about Zion Bank Stadium, which was a beautiful venue, and like I do
Mm-hmm.
think that the Salt Lake crew like hosted very well. But TCO and that campus is so condensed. Like the hotel is on site, the field is on site. Like they had the bar like right there, which is just not the case for the venue that they were at. So the field was in one location, and then we had like hotels for the owners, and then the teams were split up among like two hotels, and we had like an after party bar, but that was like away from the field too, and so everything just like felt a little disconnected, which like it was still very fun. Don't get me wrong, like the experience is
Yep.
great, but I think one of the cool things about being part of championship weekend now that I've done it twice is that the camaraderie with league folks that you don't really get to interact with much, like the other semifinalists or like the people that make stuff spin behind the scenes that we don't get to interact with much, like that part's really cool. And it builds like kind of just a group or like a camaraderie that we don't otherwise get. So I did miss that part of things a little
Right.
bit, but yeah, I don't know. We still turned up at the bar, obviously. And
Heck yeah.
then we went back to the hotel and it was like 3 a.m. and we're like, what should we do? And we're like, what if we watched the whole final back? So we were just all kind of like drinking in the hotel, in the hotel like conference room, drinking, and we were total clowns about it too. We were like pretending that we didn't know what was gonna happen. We're like, is Quinn gonna catch this one? It's like, just so dumb. These boys
It's
being
stupid. I
boys.
love it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Whoop told me I went to bed at 6:18
Oh my
Sunday
gosh.
morning.
Jeez.
So yeah.
And
I
when
mean
was your flight?
we didn't get to tear up the town, but we did have fun for sure.
Yeah.
My flight was late. It was like 2 p.m.
Okay.
So I fared okay. But I think
Yeah.
like Will Brandt and Feldman like immediately left the hotel lobby and went to their flight. So I don't know
Oh
how the heck
no.
they managed to do that. Like I would have been tired for a week.
Seriously. Oh.
So
So-
I kind of want to revisit last, unless Jeff, you had a question. Also, I was thinking, you mentioned how this was the second championship weekend Minnesota has been to in as many years. Obviously, last year's outcome was a little bit different. What do you think was different about this weekend, this championship weekend, or this season in general that kind of led you guys to this championship?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I do think experience plays a big part in it. I mean, if you get the opportunity to play in big games, you kind of remove some of the shock factor of those moments. It's easier to visualize being in a semifinal game when you've already been in one, right? So, you know, we've had a lot of good young players that are like stepping up, and with a year of semifinals under their belt and then to play in another one, I think it was easier for them to step up, which is great to see. I'd be lying if I said the conditions weren't a factor. Like, I think strategically and how we played the wind, like that was a huge part of it. I guess the one benefit of having played North Central College regionals for like all those years that most of us guys did is we definitely know how to play in the wind. So yeah, I think it was a combination of that, just like the experience, the energy, like knowing that we were so close last year and we could really beat any team if we played a good game. And then yeah, the strategy was awesome. I don't know if people know this actually, but for the final, we had a two-phased approach because we saw how the wind like died down in the second semifinal with Seattle and Carolina. And so we actually put 2 game plans together, which normally we only have one. And then each of our game plans usually has like 5 or 6 lines. So like Ben and Max and Carlos did 2 plans with like 12 lines, and it was like at any moment we're going to switch over to phase 2. It's just based on the conditions. And we like warmed up, and there was this big like audio delay where they couldn't start the game for 15 minutes. And we like went into the locker room and came back out. And we're like, guys, the wind doesn't feel that bad. And it's like a different direction. So we're just like phase 2, like screw it. We're right into phase 2. So like, I think the preparation was
awesome.
S tier. Yeah. Like the coaches really crushed that part. We don't get through that game without them. Yeah, I kind of strayed away from what the question was, I think, but I'm pretty sure I answered it. So
no, that's interesting because I know Feldman had talked about. I think he talked about it on Pod Practice. I think it was that one about just like the whole brains behind the operation. I know he's being humble, but I know he's also giving credit where credit's due of like Max Lonchamp and Carlos Lopez, and I think he even mentioned Greg Cousins was part of that like long Friday night planning session and just like not getting any sleep, prioritizing this, and just like the strategy that went behind the game was as critical as the execution, right? Like as players, that's one thing, but the coaches had so much to do, it sounded like, for the whole weekend.
Yeah. I mean, Carolina was, I think they had the highest volume of hucks completed in the league going into championship weekend. And so it's like, we know they want to play a long ball. If the conditions favor it, they're going to. Like, they have maybe the best receiver duo in the league in Fairfax and Fisher. Like, those guys are nuts. And so it was like, okay, we have to be able to take them out of that. And if it's windy, that makes it easy. And if it's not, then what are we going to do? So it's like 2 very different game plans, which is, yeah, it's hard enough to game plan for one, let alone 2. Kudos those guys. Like, Max is a brilliant mind, obviously. Feldman's got a lot of experience in the UFA. So, and yeah, all those guys are part of the North Central. So like, they know how to play in the conditions too, or coach for the conditions. Yeah, having Greg there too is great. I'm glad you brought that up because he coaches Sub-Zero. I don't know if people know that. So he's a player for Wind Chill, but he's the head coach for Sub-Zero. So he coaches a lot of us. He obviously brings like a pretty strategic mind too. And while it was unfortunate that we couldn't get him on the field for the active 20, it was nice to have him involved in like a sideline capacity. I think he really helped out, both energy on the field, but also, providing some insight for the coaching staff too, which is cool.
That is awesome. That's like seeing Torrey Hunter at spring training or something like that, you know. Love seeing that. Jay, you can go ahead.
Yeah. So you had mentioned that like there's that 15 or however long delay was before that championship game. What was it like in the locker room, like during that delay?
Yeah, we went and warmed up, and then it was like, okay, we're not going to start the game for a minute. Let's go in the locker room. And we don't usually do locker rooms. Like, Seafoam's not conducive for it. It's like all the way on the other side of where we set up. And it's like some away venues like don't have them or whatever. Like, it's just locker rooms have never really been a thing for us. And for whatever reason, Max this weekend was like, let's get in the locker room as much as we can. I think there's like a mental thing of like being in a locker room, like being ready to go. So we went in, even though like normally we wouldn't have, and a couple good speeches and some rah stuff to get us excited. And we got out, and then it was like, okay, now we wait. Like, wait, what? We're all ready to go. What's going on? Like, we're fired up. Yeah, the sound wasn't working, I guess, so they couldn't like get the PA in the stadium, which is really bad for the fans. Obviously, they don't have any idea what's going on.
Right.
So they had like some portable speakers that they were trying to bring out, and like kudos to them, they did a good job. But the whole thing was like a little messy. It was very much like we were all super ready to go, and then it was like pause.
That sucks. Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what the stream looked like. You guys were probably watching at home, but like most of us are just either throwing or like doing some light movement stuff, like just trying to stay as warm as possible. Yeah. I saw a joke on Twitter that Carolina probably pulled the plug on the PA system so that because they knew that the wind would get less and less as the night went on, and they were hoping for as little wind as possible.
That's
I
right.
thought that was a theory. I don't think that's true, but yeah. I don't know. It turns out we were really ready because we started out 4-0. Like it obviously didn't affect us as much as it did Carolina. So
yeah, that was a crazy start. I don't think anybody was expecting that.
nope.
That was awesome. What a way to start it. So kind of going back through that morning, maybe. And I know we always kind of romanticize these big wins. I know everyone talked about Detroit and what they felt like that morning when they woke up, and everyone said it felt different in the air. Like everyone on Detroit mechanics were like, yeah, we were going to win today. Did it feel like that when you woke up Saturday morning? Like, first of all, how much sleep did you get Friday night? How much preparation did you do? And then what was Saturday like leading up to that game?
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't think it felt that different to me. I mean, personally, I shout out to Feldman. He like let me stay with my wife all weekend, which was really nice. So the two of us had a room instead of me sharing a room with the team, which kind of made it feel like business as usual, right? Like that's what I would do for a home game is like wake up next to Keely and like do some morning routine stuff and then head out to the field. So it kind of made it feel like a home game, which was really nice. But that also made Saturday feel kind of routine, I felt like. Yeah, I don't know. We just kind of like woke up and ate some food and then went to the airport, and it was, I don't know, didn't feel too different. In terms of Friday prep, I told a couple people this, but it's like you have to go in with Friday being like you're all in, right? Like, if you leave anything off the table and then don't make it to Saturday, it's like, well, what did I leave that off the table for? And so like I wore like my favorite spandex on Friday, and I like only had like a couple recovery like tablets, and so like I took those on Friday night, and like I over caffeinated for the Friday night game because I wanted to like have enough energy to play that game. But then it's like I slept like crap Friday night because I'm like drinking caffeine at like 7 o'clock or whatever the heck it is, and so it's like I'm trying to go to bed, and that's like, and you're riding the high from the win, obviously too. So it's like 1 a.m, and I'm like, okay, I really need to fall asleep or else like this is going to be bad tomorrow. So I didn't sleep as well as I wanted to. And I'm not a morning person at all. I like my routine sleep schedule is like 1 a.m. to like 10 a.m. Like that's how I operate. And so like I didn't fall asleep until like 2, and then my body was just like wide awake at 8:45, and I was like, this is awful. Like normally on a game day I would sleep till 11 and then just like go get some coffee and lunch, and like that's my morning. So yeah, I was like trying to fall back asleep and I couldn't. So like the whole day I found myself a little bit more tired than I was hoping to, but I don't know. You gotta throw that stuff out of your mind and just adapt and overcome and play hard when your name gets called, right? So yeah, walked with Carlos to get some lunch on Saturday morning and some coffee, and then a lot of the guys were like hanging out in the conference room watching film, and we brought our whole medical staff, like 4 people, and so people were getting like touched up on with massage and all that kind of stuff like preemptively before the game, which is I think an underrated portion of why we did so well this weekend is having that crew there. So that was kind of what the like Friday night into Saturday looked like. Pretty routine for me, other than I wish I would have had an hour or two more sleep. But
Yeah. Interesting. Jay, can you have a question? I can go next, but
Yeah, I was thinking that last you had mentioned in an interview how when the clock hit 27 seconds and you guys had the disc, you knew that was it. You knew that was going to be the win. What was that like? What did that feel like?
yeah, I told that to Josh Klain too, and he was like, "That's premature." And I was like, "Hey, man, you played on that offensive line. I got faith in you guys." Yeah, I don't know. 27 seconds is a long time, but it's also like 5 passes. Like I trust every single person on our team on that O line to complete 5 passes. So I was feeling pretty good about it. Yeah, that was probably the most emotional part of the game for me, right? Like that's when I kind of realized that we had a real opportunity to win, or that we were going to win, and like didn't really hold anything back. Like all the tears came. Like I just kind of put my hands on my knees. Everybody stormed the field, and I like looked up and I was like, "Where'd everybody go?" Because I was like just like kind of lost in the moment.
yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. I don't know. I tend to like black out in those moments, so it's hard for me to know exactly what was going through my mind. But I know there was a lot of tears. And when the tears stopped, then it was like I got to go find my guys and like give them hugs. So it was, yeah, you can kind of see me on the like some of the replays and stuff. I'm just like slowly jogging like way behind the whole group who's already like been in a pile for a minute or whatever it was. But yeah, it's hard to describe that feeling, like blood, sweat, and tears for 11 years, right? Like,
Oh yeah,
we've put a lot of effort into being the program that we are, and felt really good for it to finally culminate in the championship for everybody that's been a part of it.
yeah. I mean, just seeing, I think one of the first shots they showed after the buzzer went off was Ben walking on the field, and it was hard not to get teary eyed. You know, just like he's, getting all emotional on the screen, and it's just like this is it. You know, like it's over, game's called. It's not even like, there was that moment when Will Brandt threw to Gordon Larson and the clock stopped. Is it a strip call? Is it not? And so we were all like holding our breath. Game's not over yet. Game's not over yet. And then once he completed that pass to Bevon, is like just like a sigh of relief. And that was like, again, us on the couch, like not even like it's the lowest stakes. Um, so I can only imagine what everyone on the field was feeling that night. Like that was such a cool moment to witness. And then yeah, just seeing all the players' reactions and Feldman just on the screen. It's just like, oh, just it all just kind of came out. And again, we've had just a fraction of that, passion poured into it on our end. So that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, and I mean Ben puts more effort into the program than anybody, right? Like he's got financial effort and time equity, and like
Yeah.
yeah, nobody puts time and effort and heart into the team like he does. So it was pretty cool to see. I think he said it best too. It's like I didn't know who to hug first. Like that's what I
Yeah.
felt too. It's just like
Yeah.
whoever I see, I don't know, get over here. Like let's
Right.
let's embrace. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it was a cool moment. We obviously like it was cool at Carolina too. I think they like kind of let us have our moment before we got into the handshake line.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was pretty awkward for them. So I appreciate the kind of like letting us, chill in that moment for a little bit. Yeah, we had the handshake line, and then pretty briefly after that, we did like a couple more cheers as like a team, and then we did the like walk down the fans on the sideline, which was really cool. Yeah, trying not to cry again as like I see Mom and Keely and all them.
Oh
It was
man.
pretty cool. Yeah, and then apparently we were celebrating too hard because Tim like came over and was like, "You guys got to like go get the trophy and like do the interviews and stuff." So like, come on, Tim, it's our first time. Like, give us a break. But yeah, it was. So that was
We need
kind of
our
like
content. Yeah.
that was kind of how the after portion of the celebrations went. But it was just really cool. Yeah, a lot of people have sacrificed a lot to be a part of the program, fans included. So it was really cool to spend that time with the team and with
Yep.
bunch of loved ones. So super awesome. And we
That's
traveled
awesome.
really well too. I think
Notice
our
that.
fan base
Oh
is
yeah.
really strong.
Yeah, that was really cool to see. That was like a big point of pride for us, was seeing and hearing, even if you couldn't see the fans, just hearing the "Let's Go" chill and stuff was so cool.
Yeah.
Lots of pride.
Yep.
Yeah, you could hear that "Let's Go" chill on the broadcast, and it was loud.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Windshield fans
Um,
travel well.
yeah, I want to. Yeah, we gotta get like a bus to Madison or something. I don't know. We gotta do something next year. Okay, I do want to go back to Feldman. I'm kind of switching up the emotions a little bit here. I'm curious to hear your perspective on Ben Feldman timeouts. Um, Pittsburgh Thunderbird game included, but he actually seriously has some of the most what feels like clutch timeouts. Um, like how does he do it? Like, is there like a strategy behind it, or he seems to always call a timeout at the right time, except maybe for
Yeah.
one game.
Except for the one time where I made maybe the coolest play.
Yeah.
I was gonna make all year, and then he was like, "Nah, just kidding." He gave me crap about that one too. He's like, that's like an inch from a turnover, right? Like I was literally an inch from being right
Okay.
on that play. Like, well, sure, whatever. No, there's a little bit of strategy in it. Obviously, like the O line is more consistent at putting the ball in the end zone, or is supposed to be. So it's like
Mhm.
if there's an opportunity to put them on the field, it's just it's when it makes sense, right? Like you definitely don't want to take a timeout when there's like we have probably our best thrower from the D line with the ball in their hands, or like if
Yep.
we have momentum and everybody's like behind the play, like the defense is behind the play, like play the numbers game. Like don't worry about
Right.
taking a timeout at that point. But like you can kind of see when the momentum starts to stall. It's like if somebody's got the disc like trapped on a sideline or like deep in their own end zone, and it's like starting to get like 4, 5, 6. Like I think those are kind of the panic moments where it's like, all right, let's get us out of a dicey situation and like get set up
Right.
with a good set play with the O line in. So I'm pretty sure that's what Feldman looks for. Um, I kind of noticed this, and this is just anecdotally. I don't know if this is true, but like I feel like a lot of other teams will have their players with the disc, like give them the reign to call a timeout, which we like really don't ever do. Like it's almost
Right.
always Feldman. I think Burt called one in semifinals just because it was like I've got nothing, and it's high. It was kind of like a panic moment, but for the most part, it's Ben's calling all of our timeouts from the sideline, which is pretty unique.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he does a good job. Um, Gets us out of some dicey situations. I think maybe some of the other D line would rather us just like play and get to
Yeah.
play offense. I don't know. I don't care as much as long as we get the job done and punch it in, right?
Right.
I mean, those are breaks, right? So
That's true. That's true. Doesn't matter who scores it.
I think, yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just it's based on the position on the field and who's got the ball and kind of what the stall count is at. I think is mostly what
Yeah.
Ben looks for.
We love getting hyped for a good timeout call. Kane, you can take the. Oh, are you okay? Do you have one, Kane?
No, I guess this last one on here would be kind of already asked towards the beginning. So I guess what's next for the team for next season is kind of the last question we have here. What's next for you as well here?
Oh,
Just
you're
yeah,
gonna
just
ask me that question, huh?
we're leaving it open ended. The question is, what's next for you, for the team, for next year?
Yeah,
Is how it's phrased.
I'm under contract through next season. I feel like I'm still playing my best ball and have no
Hmm.
intentions of slowing down as long as my legs don't fail me. So I will be back in a Winchell uniform as long as the boys will have me.
Heck yeah.
Is how I feel about it. And then in terms of like what's next for the team, I mean, I think for a long time we've been kind of this like scrappy underdog. It's like can the Central Division make some noise at championship weekend, even with the Madison title, which is like crazy to me.
Yeah.
Um, Now that we have one, I think there's probably a little bit less of that, and it's more about like, can they be a perennial powerhouse? So I think look for us to put a lot of effort into trying to go back to back, right? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, why stop at one when you can have two? That's kind of
Heck
how I
yeah.
feel. Yeah, so I don't know. We've got a really good young core, obviously, some great veterans. you piece those all together, and we're going to be a scary team for the next few years. And yeah, we'll hit the preseason mini in November or December like we always do, and tryouts in January, and then it comes up quicker than you think every year.
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, no rest for the wicked, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
I think that's what's next for the team, is just like proving that it wasn't the conditions, it wasn't the fluke. Like, the wind chill's here and we're ready to defend.
Yeah, you're
So-
talking about maybe going back to back, but the three of us were thinking, is this going to be the first team to three-peat?
Oh, nice.
We already got 25 down. We're already looking for 26.
You do have to win. You do have to win 2 to win 3.
This is true.
So that's
Okay.
actually like a fun segue. I think we talked last year about how it's like, can you really say the goal is to win a championship when we've never even made semifinals or never even made championship weekend?
Right.
I thought that was a really cool and challenging hurdle for us to get over last year. It's like, now we've been to semifinals. Like, we were 1 point away from the final game.
Right.
Like, now we can say that we have championship aspirations, and it actually feels legit. Not that it didn't feel legit before, but you have more backing to go off of, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now that we have the title under our belt too, it's like it's so much less vulnerable in a preseason goal setting meeting to be like, our goal is to go win a title.
Right. That's a realistic expectation. There's background for it. So one more like quick question. And honestly, I don't love this question, and I think people have talked about it before. But I do want to bring it up. I want to address it, especially with you here tonight. Like, I think people like playing the martyr. People like kind of self-pitying. Do you think that the Central Division still will be overlooked next year? Will it be, oh, it was wind, oh, it was luck, oh, it was a strip call, oh, what, like, will we still be brushed off, do you think? Or do you think that we, have some ground to stand underneath on?
I could see it going both ways, I guess.
Yeah.
My perspective is obviously a little bit biased as somebody who's only played in the Central Division and is a Central Division stan, right? What I will say is that I think, take talent completely out of it, like, I think in terms of the teams that put the most effort into the UFA and the teams that spend the most time trying to make the UFA rule set work for them, and that includes the strategy in windy, sloppy conditions in a championship weekend, the best teams are in the Central Division. So whether or not people think that it's a fluke and think that we can't do it again, I do think teams are going to have to start to model things off of what we've been doing, especially from a defensive creativity standpoint.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that really answers your question, but there will always be haters.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to call it a Mickey Mouse championship. I don't really care. I got one, right?
Yep. Heck yeah.
But yeah, I do think, like, Madison early on, like, had the blueprint for what a defensive, like, double team on the fly and like zones and just making things really hard for teams. Like, we're kind of doing the same thing with the way that we disconnect handler and cutter layers and like make things really challenging for teams. And like, yeah, if teams don't figure that stuff out and start to adopt some of the same things, they're going to start to fall behind or be surprised when a 4 seed slaps them in the face at championship weekend, right?
Right. Yeah. No, that's a good answer. I appreciate the perspective, and that's why I want to ask you.
Central Division supremacy. You heard it here first.
Heck yeah, let's go. All right. Mattis, is there anything else you want to say about championship weekend, winning, being a vet of 11 years here on the Wind Chill, before we wrap up here tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much. I think I'm still a little bit of a loss for words, which is weird for me. You guys have seen some of the Instagram recaps where it's like I write a novel and I just like couldn't find it for championship weekend. I'm super proud. There's a lot of guys who put tons of hours in film room and throwing, and yeah, like, I don't know, a lot of people don't win titles in their sports careers. So I never felt like I needed it to be validating for us as like, a franchise or where we were going or like our skill level or the talent of the team, any of that stuff. But it does feel like a really nice cherry on top. So, yeah, I don't know. Shout out to everybody who's been a part of the franchise, like from players, owners, coaches, like sponsors, the medical staff, like I was talking about, the fans. Like we literally don't get to be a championship team without all of that stuff kind of like coalescing at the right time. So very thankful to be a part of the organization, and that's about all I got.
Yeah. That's a way to wrap it up. Again, we appreciate having you on tonight. Again, I want to just say congratulations on the title. Looking forward to seeing what we can do,
Thank you.
what you could do in years to come. And come out to Surly on the 12th to see Brandon Mattis, the rest of the wind chill, and see the UFA trophy, get pictures with it, get autographs, all of that. We hope to see you there. In the meantime, stay chilly.
Stay chilly.
Stay chilly.
Stay chilly.